All right, hold on tight, because the story I'm about to tell you, it is not for the faint of heart. Have you ever trusted somebody completely, like really, truly trusted them with everything you had, only to find out they were playing you the whole time? That's exactly what happened to Marcus Calloway. Picture this Friday night, Upper East Side of New York City. The fancy part of town. Marcus is 37 years old, built like someone you do not want to cross. Sharp black three-piece suit, the kind of guy whose name alone makes people a little nervous. On paper, a big-time real estate boss. In real life, the head of the most powerful underground empire in all of New York. But here's the thing. For all that power, all that control, Marcus was completely blind. Blind when it came to love, blind when it came to the wrong woman. So he's walking out to his car, whistling, spinning his keys, feeling like everything in his life was perfect. His fiancée Vanessa had asked him to grab some champagne from the trunk. They had a big engagement party going on inside. "Coming, babe," he said to himself, smiling. He genuinely thought his life was perfect. Poor guy, he had no idea everything was about to fall apart. He popped the trunk open and froze. His keys slipped right out of his hand, hit the ground with a small clink. And his eyes that had stared down the most dangerous people in New York without blinking, went wide with pure, total shock. Because there, all curled up inside his trunk like a wounded animal, was Lily, his housekeeper, 27 years old. Her blue uniform was torn and dirty. Her lip was split open. A dark bruise was spreading across her cheek. And she was holding, clutching tight against her chest, 2 tiny newborn babies wrapped up in old blankets. Their little faces all red from trying to cry as quietly as they could. Lily looked up at Marcus, not with relief, with raw, real terror. "Please don't hurt me, Mr. Calloway," she sobbed, pulling the babies even tighter. "I swear I didn't do anything wrong." Marcus just stood there. His brain could not make sense of what his eyes were seeing. Lily, the sweetest, quietest housekeeper in the entire estate, the one who had never once taken a single cent that wasn't hers, was hiding in his trunk. With 2 newborn babies, he tried to speak, but Lily got there first. Her voice was shaking so hard every word felt like it could break. "Please, sir, don't let her see me. She will kill everyone. She will kill these babies too." Marcus blinked. Her who? He didn't have to wait long to find out. Because right then, click, 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 the sharp sound of heels on marble steps came from behind him. The front door flew open, warm golden light spilling out into the night, and standing in the doorway was Vanessa. She had on a deep red dress, tight, expensive, every detail perfect, a diamond necklace shining at her throat. But her face, the face Marcus had always thought was the most beautiful in the world, was twisted with something ugly. "Marcus, what are you doing out there so long?" she snapped. "The guests are waiting. The wine is almost gone." Then she stopped. Her eyes swept the whole scene in an instant. The trunk, Lily, the babies, and in one tiny flash of a second, the kind most people would never even catch, Marcus saw it. Real panic in Vanessa's eyes, but people like Vanessa move fast, real fast. In less than a breath, she flipped that panic into outrage. She charged down the steps, heels cracking against the stone like little gunshots, and screamed, "Thief! I knew it. I knew I couldn't trust this girl. She kidnapped my niece and nephew." Marcus turned to Vanessa, then back to Lily. Confusion hit him like a wave. "Niece and nephew. You never mentioned kids staying here. Whose are they?" From inside the trunk, Lily was shaking her head, tears pouring down. "She's lying, Mr. Marcus. She is lying. Look at the blanket. look at the yellow one. But Vanessa didn't give Lily another second. She lunged at the trunk, grabbed Lily by the hair, and yanked her out so hard Marcus actually heard Strand's tear-free. Lily hit the driveway hard, knees slamming the ground, elbows scraping raw, but even as she fell, her arms never let go of those babies. She locked them to her chest like her own body was their last shield. "Stop!" Marcus roared, grabbed Vanessa's arm, and pulled her back hard. His voice was not the happy fiancé voice anymore. It was the voice of Marcus Calloway, the man all of New York respected and feared. "There are babies here. Have you lost your mind?" Vanessa pulled her arm away, eyes blazing. Then, like flipping a switch, she started to cry. And oh, was it a performance, lips trembling, tears filling her eyes, voice going soft and scared. "You don't understand. That girl has partners. She planned this during the party. They are trying to kidnap the babies." And right on cue, blue and red lights lit up the quiet street. Sirens split the night. 2 police cars screeched to a stop at the gate. 4 officers jumped out. Vanessa had called them ahead of time. She ran toward them crying, hands in the air. "Thank God you're here. That girl, she was trying to take the babies." The officers looked at Vanessa. Beautiful, expensive red dress, diamond necklace, lit-up mansion behind her. Then they looked at Lily. On the ground, torn maid's uniform, face all bruised, and like so many unfair stories in this world, appearances judged long before the truth had a chance to speak. "Let go of the babies, hands on your head." An officer walked toward Lily with a cold face. "No," Lily screamed, scooting backward until she hit the car tire. "Don't give them to her. She'll hurt them." Nobody listened. 2 officers hauled Lily up, tore the babies right out of her arms. And in that moment, when one tiny hand reached up toward Lily as she was dragged away, those little fingers just reaching, searching for the person who had kept them safe, that was enough to break any heart clean in half. Vanessa took the babies from the officers, but she held them like someone holds grocery bags. Far from her expensive dress, face scrunching when one baby cried and touched her shoulder, Marcus noticed that. Just that one small moment, but it said everything, because someone who actually loved those babies would have pulled them close. Vanessa was holding them like they were something she didn't want to touch. Click, handcuffs locked shut. Cold metal going around Lily's thin wrists, the same wrists that had cleaned every corner of that house for 2 years without ever taking a thing. The police pushed her toward the car, and Lily knew this was her last chance. She twisted around a face soaked with tears and screamed with everything she had left. "Mr. Marcus, the letter, Ryan's letter, find it in the yellow blanket." The car door slammed shut. Lily disappeared behind dark glass, but that name, Ryan, rang out in that empty street like a lightning bolt. Marcus stood in the road, feet like they were nailed to the ground. Ryan, his younger brother, the one who died a year ago in a car accident, the police called completely accidental. The one whose photo Marcus still kept on his desk. Why would Lily say his name? Why would she have a letter from a man who was already gone? And why, when Lily said that name, did Marcus see Vanessa go pale for just 1 second? Just one. Before she caught herself and covered it, the police car was already gone, sirens fading into the night. But Marcus was still standing there in that quiet road, Ryan's name echoing in his head like a bell that wouldn't stop. Behind him, the mansion door opened. Click, click, click went the heels on the steps. "Marcus, come inside," Vanessa called out. Voice perfectly sweet again, perfectly calm, like absolutely nothing had just happened. "Everyone is asking for you. Don't let that unstable maid ruin our whole night." Marcus didn't turn around. He stood perfectly still, spine straight, shoulders tight, like a statue holding a storm inside. "Go ahead," he said, his voice flat, no feeling in it at all. "I need to check if she took anything from the car." Vanessa paused for a second, then shrugged, turned, and disappeared back inside, the music and laughter swallowing her right up. The moment that door closed, Marcus spun and walked fast to the car. The trunk was still open, a small dim light inside. Shadows falling across the wrinkled blankets. Lily had used to keep those babies warm. And there, in the deepest corner, where Lily had been curled up for hours, Marcus saw it. A yellow blanket, worn and soft, and sticking out between the folds, just the corner of a white envelope. Crumpled, stained, but there, Marcus picked it up. And his hand, the hand that had signed $1,000,000 deals without a single shake, the hand that had faced dangerous men and stayed steady as a rock, was trembling. Because he recognized the writing on the front, that slanted, rushed, messy handwriting, the way the letter R curved in that one specific way. Ryan's handwriting on the front in black ink. It read, "To Marcus." Marcus felt his knees go weak. He leaned against the car, fingers working the envelope open. The paper inside was a little damp, maybe from Lily's sweat during all those hours in the trunk, maybe from her tears. He held it under the streetlight and started to read. "Marcus, my brother, I'm sorry I kept so much from you. I have 2 children, 2 little ones, born from a love I had to keep secret because I was scared. Their mother is a good woman, kind and genuine, but she has no money and no power, and that makes her a target. Vanessa found out about my kids. She told me that if I ever claimed them, if I ever tried to take what belongs to our family, she would destroy everything. Brother, I have to tell you the truth, even though I'm afraid you won't believe me. That factory accident last month was no accident. Vanessa arranged it. She is obsessed with the Callaway money, with your empire, and I am in her way. If something happens to me, please find my children. They carry our blood. They have Callaway eyes. Do not let Vanessa near them. She hates anything that could take even $1 of the fortune she thinks is hers. I trust you, Marcus. You are the most honorable man I know. Your brother loves you." Ryan Marcus folded the letter back up. Slowly, carefully, like if he pressed too hard, he might come apart with it. Then he dropped to his knees. Right there, in the middle of the road, on the cold ground, the knee of his designer suit touching the dirty asphalt, and a sound tore out of his chest, not a cry, the sound of a man doing everything in his power not to scream into the night. Ryan had not died in an accident. His brother had been murdered, and the person who arranged it was inside that house right now, drinking champagne, laughing with guests, wearing the engagement ring Marcus had put on her finger with his own hands. Rage surged up through him like something detonating, burning, roaring, rolling from his stomach to his chest to his throat. Marcus's fist clenched so hard his knuckles went white. He wanted to get up that second, storm back in there, grab Vanessa in front of 200 people, and demand to know why she took the only brother he had. But Marcus Callaway was not an ordinary man. He ran a shadow empire, and the #1 rule of his world was simple: never act when emotion is in the driver's seat. The man who lets feelings lead dies first, so he breathed in, deep and slow, out again, in, out, until the fire inside lowered. Not gone, but pushed down, compressed, turned into something colder, sharper, far more dangerous. Marcus stood up, folded the letter, tucked it into his inner pocket, right against his chest, straightened his collar, smoothed his hair, and walked back into the party with a face like a blank iron mask. The party was still going strong. Soft jazz playing, glasses clinking, expensive perfume mixing with the smell of grilled food. Marcus grabbed a drink from a server's tray. took one sip and started to watch. He did not have to wait long. Vanessa was in the corner of the living room, back to the crowd, one hand over her mouth, phone pressed to her ear. Marcus moved quietly, using the music and noise as cover, until he was behind a marble column. Just a few steps away, Vanessa's voice was low, urgent, ice cold. "Why are you moving so slow? The party is packed. This is the perfect time. The kids are in the kitchen with the old cook. Go in through the back door, take them. I will pay you double, but it has to be clean, Danny. No traces. You hear me?" Marcus tightened his grip on the glass so hard he nearly crushed it. Danny the rat, a name Marcus knew well from the underground world, a man who took the dirty jobs nobody else would touch. Vanessa went on, her voice dropping even colder. "Don't worry about anyone getting in the way. The old woman Margaret is locked up in a nursing home in Florida now. She doesn't know anything. Nobody can stop me." Marcus had heard enough. Every piece dropped into place. Lily had not been lying. That young housekeeper had overheard this exact call 6 hours earlier while she was mopping near Vanessa's office. She had run to the guest house, found the babies, wrapped them in blankets, tucked Ryan's letter inside the yellow one, and climbed into the trunk of the Rolls-Royce because it was the only way out she could think of. 3 hours in the dark and the heat, whispering lullabies to 2 newborn babies, crying without making a sound. Just to keep them alive, just to keep them safe, Marcus stepped away from the column, slipped into the guest bathroom, locked the door, pulled out his phone. He dialed his attorney, Howard. 1 ring. "Yes, Mr. Calloway. Howard, get the best private investigator you have. Bring an emergency DNA testing kit. Come to my house right now. I don't care what time it is. This is life or death. Understood, sir. 15 minutes. No questions." No hesitation, not even a pause, because when Marcus Calloway called at midnight in that voice, nobody in the world asked why. Marcus looked in the mirror, cold face, hard face, not a crack in it, but his eyes, those eyes were burning with a low fire Vanessa had never seen, and would never want to see. "Get ready, Vanessa," he told his reflection quietly. "I am going to peel off every single layer of your mask, one at a time." Marcus stepped out, face back to that iron mask. He moved through the crowd of laughing guests, nodding here, taking a casual sip there, but his feet were carrying him straight to the kitchen door. He pushed it open, and the sight that greeted him made his heart, hardened by years at the top of the underground, go soft in a way it hadn't in a very long time. Grace, the cook who had been with the Calloway family since Marcus was a little kid, was sitting at the kitchen table. The 2 babies were lying in a wicker basket lined with a clean kitchen towel, set right in the middle of vegetables and herbs. She was feeding them warm milk from 2 small bottles she had apparently searched the whole kitchen to find. The babies were not crying anymore, little eyes squeezed shut, tiny hands wrapped tight around Grace's old finger like she was the last safe thing in the world. "Mr. Marcus." Grace looked up, worry all over her face. "Miss Vanessa told me not to feed them too much. She said someone was coming to pick them up." "But sir, they are so hungry. Look at them. It breaks my heart." Marcus did not answer right away. He walked to the basket and looked down. One of the babies, as if it sensed someone knew was close, slowly opened its eyes, and Marcus almost stepped back. Those eyes, blue, gray, clear, deep, Ryan's eyes, Calloway eyes. Marcus did not need any test, did not need paperwork or lab results. Blood does not lie. He reached out his finger, touched the baby's tiny hand, and right away 5 little fingers, soft as anything, closed around his one finger and squeezed. With a strength that genuinely surprised him, like someone had reached into his chest and grabbed his heart directly. That moment was small, quiet, no music, no grand speech, just a man who ran all of New York's underground, standing in a kitchen, letting a newborn hold his finger, and knowing right then and there he would burn the whole world down if he had to, just to keep these two tiny lives safe. Marcus pulled his hand back gently, looked up at Grace, and when he spoke, it was not a homeowner talking to his cook. It was a command, cold, final, no room for questions. Nobody takes them, Grace, nobody. Feed them until they are full. Give them whatever they need. If Vanessa asks, tell her you could not find any milk. Grace looked at him with old, wise eyes that had seen so much in this house. And she understood this was not a request, it was an order. Yes, sir. She nodded and pulled the babies a little closer. Marcus took out his phone and sent a quick text to two names nobody at this party would have guessed the truth about. Victor and Ray, two men in black suits and earpieces, blending in as event security, but in reality Marcus's two most trusted men. The kind who moved the moment a message came from their boss. The message was short: guard the kitchen door. If anyone other than Grace tries to come in, stop them. No questions, no explanations, he sent it. Slid the phone back into his pocket, took a slow breath, and walked back into the party. The jazz was still flowing. Champagne still running. Guests still laughing like the world outside did not exist. Marcus grabbed a fresh drink from a tray, found a spot where he could see the whole room, and waited. He did not have to wait long. The side door, the one only staff ever used, cracked open. A figure slipped in, hunched low, eyes darting fast and nervous, wearing a cheap, wrinkled suit that was clearly wrong for this crowd. Face thin, a scar running from the corner of his eye down to his cheekbone. Danny the Rat. Marcus recognized him immediately. In New York's underground world, Danny was the type who took the jobs nobody else would touch. The man who would sell out his own people for the right paycheck. Danny tried to blend in with the servers carrying trays, but he moved like a cockroach on a white tablecloth, obvious to anyone actually paying attention. Across the room, Vanessa spotted him. Marcus caught the look she sent over, quick, nearly invisible. A tiny nod, a flick of the eyes toward the kitchen door. Go, do it. Danny understood. He turned and picked up his pace. Weaving past servers, eyes fixed on the kitchen door at the end of the hall. 10 steps, 8, 5. His hand reached for the handle, and in that exact second, Marcus's voice cut through the entire party like a thunderclap. Security, one word, the boss's word, the music cut, every conversation died. 200 pairs of eyes swung to Marcus. And Danny, a hand still reaching for that kitchen door, felt 2 hands like iron clamps seize his shoulders from behind. Victor and Ray appeared from either side like ghosts, lifted Danny clean off the ground before he could touch that door 1 more inch. Let go of me. Danny struggled, eyes shooting toward Vanessa in panic. She sent me. She told me to. Thief. Vanessa shrieked from the middle of the crowd. Voice sharp, face shifting color, still running the show. I don't know this man. He must have snuck in to steal. Get him out. Marcus looked at Vanessa, then at Danny, said nothing, just gave Victor 1 single nod. Hand him over to the police. Trespassing. Danny was dragged away, shoes scraping across the polished floor, still talking, looking absolutely rattled. Vanessa let out a slow breath, shoulders dropping just slightly, a flash of relief in her eyes. She thought she had gotten away with it. Thought Danny's arrest was a minor setback she could deal with later, as long as Marcus knew nothing. But just as Vanessa was telling herself she was in the clear, the doorbell rang, deep and rich, announcing new arrivals. Marcus opened the door. 2 men stepped in, one in a gray suit with gold-rimmed glasses and a brown leather briefcase. Attorney Howard, who had served the Calloway family for 30 years, beside him a silver-haired man carrying a steel medical case. The private Dr. Marcus trusted completely. Marcus turned back to face Vanessa in the living room. In front of 200 curious eyes, his voice was calm and easy, like he was talking about the weather. "Vanessa, you said the babies are distant relatives, right? So there is nothing to worry about. But tonight has been a mess, so before anyone goes anywhere, the doctor is going to do a quick DNA swab on the babies. The attorney will watch. If there is nothing to hide, we will laugh about this whole thing tomorrow." The room went completely still. Vanessa stood in the middle of the crowd, champagne flute in her hand, smile frozen on her lips, and then the glass slipped from her fingers, hit the marble floor, shattered into pieces, golden champagne splashing across the white stone like spilled tears. The sharp crack of that breaking glass rang through the silence, like the first crack in the wall of lies Vanessa had spent years building. While the sound of that shattering glass still hung in the air over the Calloway mansion, somewhere else in the city, dozens of blocks away, Lily was living in a completely different world. The 19th precinct at night, one of the most depressing places you could imagine. The holding cells were down in the basement. Flickering yellow lights, gray walls blotched with damp stains, the smell of bleach mixed with sweat and pure misery. They had taken her shoes, her belt, even the one hair clip she owned. Lily sat barefoot on the freezing cement floor. Back against the wall, arms wrapped around her knees, curled up as small as she could get, like she could just disappear from the world. Every time a shadow passed, Lily lifted her head, eyes red and swollen, voice wrecked from crying. "Please, just let me make one phone call. Just one. I need to reach Mr. Calloway, tell him the truth. The guard at the end of the hall didn't even look up." "Be quiet. People who kidnap children don't get to make demands." Lily slid down, back scraping the wall. Until she was flat on the floor, she wasn't crying for herself. She had been dealing with hard times since she was young. Used to being looked down on, used to being invisible in the world of wealthy people, but she could not stand the thought of those babies being in Vanessa's hands. She pressed her palm to her lips, that palm that still carried the faint warmth of 2 tiny lives she had held for 3 hours in the dark. "I'm sorry, babies," Lily whispered, voice breaking. "I promised I would protect you, and I let you down." From the cell next to hers, a rough voice came through. A woman who had spent too many years on the hard side of life. "Hey girl, you look too soft to be in here. What happened?" "I didn't do anything," Lily choked out. "I just wanted to save 2 babies." The woman let out a bitter laugh, not cruel, just knowing. "Mess with rich people and you're done, sweetheart. Money always wins. The law is for the people who can afford to buy it." Lily closed her eyes. The dark behind her eyelids felt kinder than reality. She thought about her grandmother back home, the only person in the world who had truly loved her, waiting for the money Lily sent every month. She thought about Marcus. Would he believe her, or was he somewhere right now thinking she had betrayed him? The thought that the man she had quietly respected for 2 years might see her as a criminal hurt more than any bruise on her body. But Lily did not know, could not know, that danger was not only around her. Danger was being sent to her from far away, from the very mansion she had cleaned every day of her working life. While Lily shivered on that cold floor on the Upper East Side, the party at the Calloway mansion was winding down. The last guests leaving, carrying whispers about the night's strange drama. Vanessa slipped away into Marcus's private study, closed the door, locked it. She knew Marcus was busy in the living room with the attorney and the doctor. Busy with that DNA test, she needed time. She needed to move fast. First, a phone call. Vanessa dialed. 3 rings. Then a low, flat female voice answered. "I need a favor," Vanessa said, her voice as cold as ice. "There is a new girl in the women's wing at the 19th precinct tonight. Name is Lily Reeves. I want your people in there to teach her a lesson. The kind where in the morning they find her on the bathroom floor. You understand what I'm saying." Silence. "Then how much?" "Enough that you won't ask a second question." Vanessa hung up, no trembling, no hesitation. She had just ordered a human life ended as easily as ordering a meal. Next, she walked to the large painting behind Marcus's desk, lifted it off, revealed a digital safe, entered 6 numbers she had memorized in secret a long time ago. The steel door opened with a soft click. Inside, cash, passports, important papers, and at the bottom, wrapped in black velvet, a small silver pistol. The one Marcus kept for protection. Vanessa picked it up, turned it over in her hands, felt its weight, then slipped it into her leather evening purse, a perfect fit, completely hidden. As she went to close the safe, her eyes caught something tucked in the corner. An old photograph, stiff at the edges, yellow with age, a young woman with thick black hair and bright eyes. A smile that carried both warmth and authority. Margaret Whitmore in her youth, Vanessa's grandmother. Once the backbone of the entire Whitmore family, Vanessa stared at the photo, and instead of love, or even basic family feeling, her eyes held nothing but cold contempt. "Sit in that nursing home in Florida," Vanessa whispered, lips curling into something cold. "You never knew anything. It is all mine." She tossed the photo in the trash. It hit the bottom with a small dry sound, like the quiet sigh of a family bond thrown away without a thought. Vanessa closed the safe, hung the painting back, fixed her hair in the mirror. In her mind, Plan B was locked and ready. If everything went smoothly, the DNA results would be switched by her people in the lab. Lily would not survive the night. The babies would disappear into a system no one could trace. But if things went wrong, if Marcus discovered too much, the gun in her purse would handle it. A staged suicide, a grand funeral, and Vanessa Whitmore would become the grieving widow who inherited the Calloway empire. She looked in the mirror one last time, smiled, the kind of smile only someone like her could wear, turned off the light, and walked out. On 2 sides of the city, 2 women were living in 2 completely different worlds. One was curled on a freezing cement floor, praying for 2 babies she loved with her whole heart. One was standing before a mirror in warm golden light, planning to eliminate anyone who got in her way. Lily had no idea that death was heading for her both from inside those bars and outside them. She only knew how to hold her knees, close her eyes, and whisper the babies' names like a prayer. But here is what neither Lily nor Vanessa knew. Somewhere in that mansion, Marcus Calloway was sitting in the dark, staring at Ryan's photograph and sharpening every single next step with the cold, calculated precision of a man who was used to winning games where the loser pays with their life. The longest night of Marcus Calloway's life did not pass in his luxury bedroom. It passed in the leather chair of his study, one hand holding a whiskey glass that had been empty for a long time, the other gripping Ryan's framed photograph. The picture was from when they were kids, Marcus at 12, Ryan at 8, both of them grinning wide at Kenai Island. 2 boys who had no idea yet about the underground, about power, about greed. Marcus looked into Ryan's laughing eyes and whispered, his voice raw from a night without sleep, "I'm sorry, little brother. I let the enemy into our home. I slept beside your killer and never knew." But I swear to you, Ryan, I am going to fix all of this. At 7 in the morning, the phone buzzed on the oak desk. Marcus picked it up before the second buzz. The doctor's voice was calm and professional, but Marcus could hear the feeling he was trying to hold back. Mr. Calloway, the results are in. 99.9% match to Ryan Calloway's DNA on file in the family gene bank. The 2 babies are your niece and nephew. There is no doubt they are Calloway blood. Marcus did not speak. He closed his eyes, and one single tear rolled down his cheek, slow, heavy, hot. Fell right onto the glass covering Ryan's smiling face. They were Ryan's children, his brother's blood. His blood, the family Marcus thought he had lost forever when Ryan was taken from him, was still here after all. Still breathing, still alive, lying in a wicker basket in his kitchen, being threatened by the very woman he had almost married. "Thank you, Doctor," Marcus said, voice low but steady. "Get me the official report today." He hung up, set Ryan's photograph down, stood up, and walked out of the study. No more time to sit with the pain. Ryan was gone, but Ryan's children were alive, and Lily, the one who had risked everything to save them, was locked in a cell with death being sent her way. While Marcus drove through the early morning streets of Manhattan, still nearly empty, quiet, misty, Lily was facing something she was not prepared for. Morning in lockup started with a loud iron bell and a line of women shuffling toward breakfast, a bowl of thin, watery porridge and a hard piece of bread. Lily stood at the back of the line, head down, trying to stay invisible, but being invisible did not save her. A large shadow blocked her path. Lily looked up and saw a big woman, shoulders as broad as a man's, a spiderweb tattoo climbing her neck, flat, cold eyes, a slow, dangerous smile spreading across a face full of old scars. The boss of the women's wing, the one every single inmate lowered their eyes for when she walked by. "You, right?" Her voice was deep and slow, like stone dragging on stone. "Word is you have been causing problems. Somebody paid me to teach you a lesson." Lily backed up until her spine hit the wall. Nowhere left to go. The woman stepped closer, one arm loose, the other hidden behind her back, and Lily caught it just for a flash, but it was enough to freeze her blood. A toothbrush sharpened to a point, the most terrifying weapon in any jail. "I didn't cause any problems," Lily said. Her voice was shaking, but her eyes stayed steady. "I was just trying to protect 2 babies. Don't care," the woman sneered. "I got paid not to hear your story." She raised her arm. Lily shut her eyes, held her breath. She thought of the babies, of those tiny eyes looking up at her in the dark trunk, of the promise she had not been able to keep. If she died here, nobody would know, nobody would remember, just a nameless housekeeper gone in a prison fight. Filed away and forgotten, but fate, that thing that loves to test people and yet sometimes, just sometimes, shows mercy, stepped in at the very last second. "Lily Reeves," a guard's voice rang from the far end of the hall, urgent and sharp. "Come out here. You are being released. Someone posted bail for you." The woman froze. Hand inches from Lily's face. It dropped slowly. Her eyes went calculating. Then she stepped back and spat on the floor right by Lily's foot. "Lucky," she said low, just for Lily to hear, "but accidents happen on the outside too." Lily did not have time to think about the threat. She only knew she had to run after the guard through the gray hallways, past the heavy steel doors, through the processing room where she signed her name with a hand shaking so badly her signature looked like a scribble. And then she was at the final door, the door to the outside world. She pushed it open. The first morning sunlight hit her eyes, blinding, stinging, making her throw her arm up to shield her face. After so many hours in the dark, the light felt like a gentle slap and a harsh one at the same time. Lily squinted, tried to see, and little by little the image in front of her sharpened. A sleek black Rolls Royce parked right at the precinct entrance. And leaning against the car door, arms crossed over his chest, dark sunglasses hiding the shadows of a sleepless night, white shirt sleeves rolled to his elbows, no jacket, no tie, exhausted, but still carrying that presence no suit could ever create, was Marcus. He smiled, small, tired, but warm in a way Lily had never once seen on that usually cold face. Lily ran. She did not think. She did not remember he was the boss and she was the maid. She did not remember he ran an empire and she was a nobody. She just ran, bare feet on the concrete, torn uniform catching in the morning breeze, and she threw herself straight into Marcus's arms. He caught her, strong arms closed around Lily's small frame, one hand settling at the back of her neck. Shielding, protecting, holding tight, Lily sobbed into his chest, tears soaking through his white shirt. And Marcus did not care at all. "You actually believe me," Lily whispered, her voice cracking inside the sobs. "I believe you," Marcus said, steady as a rock, no hesitation. "I read the letter. I know everything. And I posted the highest bail this precinct has ever seen to get you out of there. Come on, get in. It's not safe out here. I'll explain on the way." Marcus drove through the barely awake city streets, heading toward Lower Manhattan, Tribeca, to a penthouse apartment he owned that nobody in his world knew about. Not even Vanessa, not even his lawyers, only Grace and his two most trusted men. It was his last safe place. The spot he kept for the most dangerous times. And today was one of those times. The elevator opened on the top floor. Lily stepped in, eyes still red, still swollen, and then she stopped. The living room was wide open, flooded with sunlight through tall windows looking out over the Hudson River. And in the center of the room, on a white sofa, Grace was sitting. The babies were lying in a portable baby bed beside her, sleeping peacefully. Safe, full, wrapped in clean blankets, Lily's hand flew to cover her mouth. Her legs buckled, and then she ran to the baby bed, dropped to her knees, trembling hands touching the soft little cheeks of each baby. And she cried, not the broken, desperate crying from that holding cell, but the crying of someone who had just found the most precious thing they thought was gone forever. "Babies," Lily whispered, tears falling onto the white blanket. "I'm here. I'm right here." One baby opened its eyes, looked right at Lily, and those tiny hands lifted, reaching up toward her like it already recognized her voice, like it had been waiting for her. Grace turned away and quietly wiped her eyes with the corner of her apron. Marcus stood in the doorway, silent. He did not step in. Just leaned against the frame and watched Lily gather those babies into her arms, watched her kiss their little foreheads, watched her smile through all those tears. Then, quietly, he stepped back and pulled the door most of the way closed, giving Lily her own space. Her own reunion, the one she had earned. Marcus leaned against the hallway wall outside, closed his eyes, tipped his head back, let out one long, heavy breath, releasing the sleepless night, the rage, the grief of losing his brother. But inside that breath was something else, something Marcus had not put a name to yet, had not allowed himself to name. Something warm, something quietly more dangerous than any fight he had ever been in, because it did not come from the underground world. It came from the deepest part of his chest, a place he had been sure he had locked away a very long time ago. When the babies were sleeping and Grace sat keeping watch beside them, Marcus tapped lightly on the living room door and stepped in. Lily was sitting on the floor next to the baby bed, hands still resting gently on a baby's chest, like if she moved they might disappear. She looked up at him, eyes still red, but calmer, a small returning light in them that last night had almost gone out. Marcus sat down beside her, not on a chair, right on the floor, shoulder to shoulder. Two people sitting on the floor of a multi-million-dollar penthouse like two kids talking about something that mattered more than any of it. "Lily, I need to fill you in on a few things," Marcus said, voice low, real talk. "The DNA results came back. The babies are Ryan's biological children. They are my niece and nephew." Lily was not surprised. She had known it in her heart, but hearing Marcus confirm it in that steady voice, she still closed her eyes and breathed out in relief. "Tonight," Marcus continued, looking straight ahead, "is the official engagement party. Press will be there, business partners, all the biggest names in New York. Vanessa thinks she has won. She thinks you are still in that cell. She thinks the DNA results have already been switched because she sent someone to bribe the lab." Lily turned to him. Eyes wide, "She bribed the lab, she tried to," Marcus said. A cold smile crossed his face, the kind that would make experienced criminals go still. "But I got there first. My people reached the lab before hers. The real results are sitting safe with Attorney Howard." He said it simply, like it was no big deal, but Lily felt the weight behind every word. This was the man whose name made all of New York stand at attention. And he had used the full reach of his underground network, not for business, not for territory, but to protect her. A housekeeper who just days ago was still mopping his floors. "Tonight you are coming to that party with me," Marcus said, looking at Lily. Not as the housekeeper. Lily blinked. "I don't understand. You are coming with me." Walking through the front doors, in front of everyone, Lily shook her head, panic rising. "I don't know how to act at those events. I don't know how to hold a wine glass properly, how to talk to those kinds of people. I am a housekeeper, Mr. Marcus. I know how to clean floors and wash dishes." Marcus looked at her for a long moment. Those steel gray eyes, the ones that had made dangerous men look away, went soft now, like a lake settling after a storm. "I don't need a socialite," he said, quiet, sure. "I need you, brave, honest, and beautiful. Last night you climbed into a car trunk to save two babies you did not owe a single thing to. That is worth more than every expensive dress and polished smile in that entire ballroom. Tonight the curtain is going to fall, and you are going to have a front row seat watching Vanessa answer for everything she has done. Grace, the loyal cook, turned into something of a miracle worker." She searched the apartment and found an emerald green evening gown Marcus had bought once for a charity event, tags still attached, hanging unworn in the living room closet. She brought Lily into the bathroom, helped her wash her hair, brushed it out with patient hands, and shaped it into soft waves that fell over Lily's shoulders. Just a little makeup, light powder, a touch of color, enough to bring out those deep brown eyes and the mouth that for so many days had only been pressed tight in silence and endurance. Marcus waited out in the living room, back to the bedroom door, pretending to scroll through his phone. Though he was not reading a single thing, he heard Grace's little sounds of delight, heard Lily laugh quietly for the first time since the night before, heard the soft pull of a zipper. Then the bedroom door opened. Marcus turned and went completely still. Lily stood in the doorway, the emerald dress hugging her frame softly, the silk moving like water, her hair in waves over bare shoulders, her eyes lit by something that had nothing to do with makeup. It was her dignity returned. She did not look like a magazine cover. She looked better than that. Beautiful in a way no amount of money can buy. Beautiful with truth, with courage, with the bruises on her cheekbones not fully faded, sitting under a thin layer of powder and a tremendous amount of strength. Marcus Calloway, the man who had negotiated with the most dangerous people on the East Coast without flinching, the man who had looked down a gun barrel and still stayed calm, now stood in his own living room and could not find a single word. For the first time in his life, Boss Calloway was speechless. He looked at Lily, not as the maid, not as someone to be rescued, but as the woman he knew, with a certainty that quietly frightened him, that he could not let go of. "You," Marcus said, his voice going rough in a way he could not control. "You're beautiful." Lily blushed, looked down, then lifted her eyes again, because she had decided she was done bowing her head to anyone. "Don't look at me like that," she said softly, but the corner of her mouth curved just a little. Just enough to make Marcus feel his heart, the heart he was sure had turned to stone, skip one single beat. The Rolls-Royce stopped at the Calloway mansion gates just after dark. Camera flashes popped without stopping. Reporters and photographers packed both sides of the red carpet, lenses aimed at the car door, waiting for New York's most powerful couple. Marcus stepped out first, buttoning his black suit, features sharp under the lights. Then he turned and held out his hand inside the car. Lily placed her hand in his, trembling just a little, but she stepped out. The emerald dress caught all those flashes and threw the light back in sparks. Her waved hair lifted in the Manhattan night breeze. She stood straight, chin raised, and walked right beside Marcus down that red carpet. Whispers spread through the crowd like wildfire. "Who is she? That is not Vanessa. Oh my goodness, she is stunning. Is she a model?" Inside the grand hall, at the top of the curved marble staircase, Vanessa stood greeting guests, glowing in a gold gown covered in gems. The perfect hostess smile on her face. She looked down at the front doors, and that smile died right there. The champagne glass in her hand tilted, then slipped from her shaking fingers, hit the marble steps. Shattered golden liquid splashing across the white stone like spilled tears. Vanessa drew a breath, forced the smile back, and came down the stairs one step, then another, heels striking marble like a countdown. "Oh," Vanessa said, loud enough for the whole room to catch, voice sweet in a way that made your stomach turn. Eyes sharp as a knife. "I didn't realize we had entertainment tonight. You brought your housekeeper to the party, Marcus. How charming." A few scattered laughs. The upper-class crowd loved drama, and they had just been handed a full plate of it. Marcus said nothing. Just stood there, hand resting gently on the small of Lily's back, waiting because he already knew. He could feel it. The woman beside him tonight was not the housekeeper who used to look at the floor. And he was right. Lily looked straight into Vanessa's eyes. No bowing, no trembling, no stepping back. For the first time in 2 years, she looked directly into the face of the woman who had ground her down every single day, and she did not blink. "I am not going anywhere, Miss Vanessa," Lily said, her voice clear, calm, carrying just far enough for the people nearby to hear. "And if I were you, I would be a lot more concerned about what is about to come out tonight than what dress I am wearing." Silence dropped over the hall like a curtain. Vanessa stood there, mouth slightly open. For the first time in her life, being answered back by the maid she had always called worthless. Marcus smiled, put his arm around Lily's waist, and walked her right past Vanessa into the heart of the glittering hall. The crowd parted automatically, making room, like making way for a king and queen, and Vanessa was left behind. Alone, fist clenched, nails digging into her palm, eyes watching Lily's back in that emerald dress. And in that stare, there was no contempt left at all, only pure hatred, the kind that does not need a weapon to feel dangerous. Half an hour passed. Marcus moved Lily through the crowd, introducing her to his partners, not as the housekeeper, but with the words, "The woman who saved my family's legacy." And every time those words landed in the air, Vanessa, standing in the corner, tightened her grip on her wineglass just a little more. She could not take it any more. When the orchestra stopped and the stage lights at the far end of the hall came on, Vanessa moved first. She charged up onto the stage as fast as her heels would carry her, snatched the microphone from the host, and turned to face 200 guests with the biggest forced smile she could manage. "Welcome, everyone," Vanessa called out, sharp and confident. Like none of the evening's events had happened at all, Marcus and I have wonderful news. We have decided to move the wedding up. This weekend, this very weekend, we will officially become husband and wife. Scattered, confused applause. Guests looked at each other, looked at Vanessa on stage, then looked at Marcus below, standing with an unfamiliar woman on his arm. Nobody knew what was going on. Marcus set his drink down on the nearest table, gave Lily's hand a quiet squeeze, a look that said, "It's time," then let go. He walked toward the stage, slow, one step at a time, each footfall hitting the polished floor like a drum. The crowd went quiet on instinct, because when Marcus Calloway walked with that rhythm and that expression, even people who did not know him could feel that something enormous was coming. He climbed onto the stage, stepped beside Vanessa and held out his hand, did not grab, did not snatch, just extended his arm, palm up, and looked her directly in the eyes with a gaze that carried no love. No anger, just an ending. Vanessa looked at his hand, then his eyes, and with the instincts of someone who had been lying their whole life, she knew something was very wrong. But under 200 pairs of eyes, she could not refuse. She placed the microphone in his hand with a stiff smile, tried to link her arm through his, but Marcus shifted so naturally, so smoothly, that only Vanessa understood it was a firm rejection. "Thank you, Vanessa, for that enthusiastic announcement," Marcus said into the microphone, voice calm. Deep, full control of the room. "But before we talk about a wedding, I want to talk about something far more important. Family, blood, and truths that have been buried for far too long underneath a pile of lies." The smile on Vanessa's face died in place. She stepped forward, reaching for the microphone, but Marcus turned his body and blocked her, gentle but solid as a wall, and kept speaking without even glancing back. "Everyone here knows my younger brother, Ryan Calloway, passed away 1 year ago in what appeared to be an accident. But Ryan left something behind that nobody knew about." Marcus signaled the sound technician. The giant screen behind the stage, the one meant to display romantic couple photos, blazed to life with something completely different. A document, enlarged, clear, readable by anyone in the room. The logo of the most respected DNA lab in the country in the top corner. And below it, in bold, probability of biological relationship, 99.9%. Conclusion, the tested subject is the biological child of Ryan Calloway. The hall erupted. Ryan had children. Nobody knew. Marcus waited for the noise to settle, then continued. And this time, his voice carried no smooth business tone. It carried the weight of an older brother demanding justice for his own. Ryan had 2 children, twin babies, and someone wanted them gone, wanted them to vanish before I ever found out they existed. But they are alive, not because of the police, not because of lawyers, not because of a single person in this room. They are alive because of one woman who risked everything. Marcus raised his hand and pointed down into the crowd, right at Lily. The spotlight swung, found her emerald dress glowing, face working to hold back tears. Lily pressed her hand to her chest, heart pounding so hard she was sure the people beside her could hear it. "Lily Reeves," Marcus said, and her name rang through that hall like a declaration. "The most courageous woman I have ever met in my entire life. Applause started. Slow at first, scattered, then it grew, spread, rolled out stronger and louder until the whole hall was thunder. Lily bit her lip, tears falling, but she did not drop her head, did not look away. She stood there and met every gaze. Back straight, chin up, Vanessa on stage could not take it any longer. She stepped forward, her voice cutting through the applause. It is forged, all of it is forged. That girl is running a scheme. She paid off the doctor. Don't believe it. She is just a housekeeper after money. Marcus turned to Vanessa slowly. Those steel gray eyes, carrying not one trace of what could be called affection, only the cold contempt of a man looking at someone already defeated, who has not figured it out yet. Forged, Vanessa. His voice dropped so quiet it was almost frightening. Then explain to me why you paid $50,000 to a man called Danny the Rat to make those 2 babies disappear. The hall dropped into absolute silence, the kind where you can hear the candles burning on the tables. Vanessa's mouth opened, closed, opened again, like a fish that had just been pulled from water. I don't know any Danny, you are out of your mind. Are you sure? Marcus pressed a button on the remote in his hand. The whole sound system, built for celebrations, now filled with something that was not music. It was a voice, Vanessa's voice, clear, cold, unmistakable. I don't care what you do with them. Get rid of them. I don't care, as long as Marcus never sees them. If he finds out those children exist, I lose everything. Do you understand me? Everything. The recording ended. Its echo hung in the air like smoke. Then the room exploded. Gasps of horror, hands over mouths, chairs scraping as people stood. A silver-haired woman at the front table slowly turned away, shaking her head. 2 women Vanessa had always called her closest friends. The ones who sat beside her at every event stepped back 3 paces, then 5, then 10, dragging their chairs away like Vanessa was something contagious. Vanessa stood in the center of the stage, spotlight pouring straight down, nowhere left to go. She looked to the right, faces turning away. She looked to the left, eyes full of disgust. She looked down. The crowd was no longer her audience. It was a jury, and every face had already reached its verdict. The final mask fell. No more socialite, no more perfect fiancé, no more practiced, polished smile. Just Vanessa Whitmore, stripped bare under the lights, wild eyes darting, breathing sharp and fast. Like a cornered animal with every exit shut, Marcus watched her, then delivered his final line, flat. Simple, final. The police are on their way, Vanessa, and this time they are not coming for Lily. In that moment, the moment Vanessa Whitmore understood that every door had shut, every escape had been sealed, every lie had been burned in front of 200 witnesses, something inside her broke, and it did not make her fall apart. It made her go completely off the rails. Laughter tore out of her throat, but not normal laughter, not the smooth, controlled laugh from all those elegant parties. This was shattered laughter. The sound of a mind reaching its limit and breaking every wall it had built, loud, unraveled, the kind that made every hair in the room stand up. The police coming to arrest me. Vanessa laughed, eyes blazing, hair coming loose, gold dress catching the spotlight like armor on a queen who had completely lost her grip on reality. Nobody arrests Vanessa Whitmore. Nobody. Her hand plunged into the leather clutch under her arm and pulled out something the room needed 1 long second to register. A silver pistol, small, gleaming, very real, the gun she had taken from Marcus's safe the night before. Hidden in her purse like a final card she was always ready to play, Vanessa aimed it straight at Marcus's chest. Just a few steps away, close enough not to miss. Nobody move. Vanessa's voice boomed through the hall. Microphone still live. The room went to pieces. Guests screaming, dropping to the floor, crawling under tables, grabbing whoever was beside them. Wine glasses crashing, chairs toppling, a silver-haired woman at the front table fainted outright, and in the middle of all that chaos, Marcus Calloway did not move. He stood completely still, eyes locked on Vanessa's, both hands rising slowly to shoulder height, palms open. No fear, no panic, face like stone. And when he spoke, it was the voice of a man who had sat across from drug bosses, arms dealers, killers, and walked away from every one of those conversations in one piece. Put the gun down, Vanessa. Slow, one word at a time. You have already lost. Everyone heard it. Everyone saw it. There is no way back from this. But if you lower that gun, at least you keep your life. Vanessa shook her head, the gun trembling in her hand. Still pointed at his chest. I don't lose. That is not how I operate. I want a car, a private jet, passports. I want out of this city before the police walk through that door. All right. Marcus nodded, still unnervingly calm. I will give you everything. Take me. I am the one who signs the checks. I am the one worth something to you. Let Lily and everyone else go. But Vanessa was not foolish. Even inside the madness, her sharp mind kept working. She looked at Marcus, then looked down below the stage at Lily, standing there, face pale, both hands gripping the back of a chair. Eyes fixed on the gun. No, Vanessa whispered, and the smile that spread on her lips was the most frightening thing in the room. I don't need you. She is who you love. I saw it in your eyes tonight, Marcus. The way you look at that housekeeper. You have never once looked at me like that. Not once. Vanessa lunged off the stage, so fast nobody had time to react. One hand seized Lily's arm, the other pressed the silver pistol hard against Lily's temple. Lily drew in a sharp breath, but she did not scream, did not fight. She just stood there, eyes straight on Marcus. As if to say, stay calm, don't do anything reckless. One more step and I pull this trigger. Vanessa screamed, dragging Lily toward the stage. Gun pressed hard against her skin, Marcus locked up. And for the first time that entire night, maybe for the first time in his entire life, the Calloway boss felt something that had nothing to do with strategy or power. He felt fear, not for himself, for her. For the woman with a gun pressed to her head, who still was not crying, who was still trying to hold it together, who still looked at him with those deep brown eyes full of courage. His face stayed cold, but his hands clenched at his sides until his knuckles went white, and his heart beat in a way he had no control over. He was calculating, searching for any angle, any move at all that could save Lily without that gun going off. And then the main doors of the grand hall burst wide open, not gently. They slammed against the walls with a boom like thunder trapped inside a room. Everyone turned, Vanessa included. A wheelchair rolled into the center of the hall, pushed by a nurse in white. Sitting in it was an elderly woman, hair white as snow, skin lined with years, a small frame nearly swallowed by a gray wool coat. But her eyes were sharp as blades, bright as headlights, the eyes of someone who had lived 82 years and refused to lose to anyone. Not even time, Margaret Whitmore. Vanessa froze. The gun dropped just an inch, 1 inch, but Marcus noticed. Vanessa's face, twisted with madness a moment ago, became the face of a child who had seen a ghost. Grandmother, Vanessa breathed, voice breaking. You are in Florida. You cannot be here. Margaret raised one hand and signaled the nurse to stop, then looked straight up at Vanessa. Her voice was not loud, but in that deadly silence, even a whisper carries like a shout. Put that gun down, right now. Vanessa blinked, like she had been slapped. Margaret continued, voice trembling with age but cutting with fury. You thought locking me in a nursing home ended things. You think I am some helpless old woman who knows nothing. The bank called me this morning, Vanessa. You withdrew $600,000 from the family trust without my signature. You are a thief." Margaret paused, took a breath, then added in a voice heavy as stone, "And if what they just played through those speakers is true, then you are a murderer as well." Vanessa stared at her grandmother. The woman she had shipped off to Florida, the woman whose old photo she had thrown in the trash the night before, the woman she had assumed was out of the picture for good, now sitting in the middle of the grand hall, in front of 200 witnesses, calling her out in front of everyone. Vanessa lost focus just for a second. Her eyes left Marcus and landed on Margaret, and the gun dropped another inch. 1 second. That was all Marcus Calloway needed. He moved fast, precise, exact, like something that had been perfectly still and coiled, and finally released. His hand locked around Vanessa's wrist, crushing grip, twisting up, forcing the gun toward the ceiling. Vanessa screamed. Her finger yanked the trigger in pure panic. The blast shook the hall, a violent crack, the echo bouncing off every marble wall like thunder in an enclosed space. The bullet flew upward and tore straight into the massive crystal chandelier hanging from the ceiling. The chandelier exploded, thousands of crystal pieces raining down like a diamond storm, glittering under the stage lights, breathtaking and terrifying all at once. Vanessa clawed, bit, fought like a cornered wildcat, but Marcus was stronger. He wrenched her wrist until the metal hit the floor. The silver pistol skidded across the polished stone, but Vanessa was not finished. With her free hand, she pulled a small knife from under the hem of her dress. Short blade, razor sharp, and drove it toward Marcus's side. He saw the flash of the blade, shifted, but half a beat too slow. The knife sliced through the edge of his vest, tore the fabric clean, but missed the skin. Before Vanessa could go for it again, before Marcus could fully turn and counter, a shadow came in fast from behind. Lily, she grabbed a large white porcelain vase from the nearest banquet table, heavy, full of white flowers. Water soaking her hands, and she did not hesitate. "Get your hands off my man." Lily's voice came out loud and fierce and raw, so strong she barely recognized it as her own. And she brought that vase down on Vanessa's head. Porcelain shattered, white flowers burst everywhere. Water splashed across the floor. Vanessa's eyes went wide, her mouth opened, but no sound came out. Her body swayed once, twice, then crumpled straight down onto the marble floor, out cold. 3 seconds of complete silence. And then the entire hall erupted. People climbing up from under tables, from behind chairs, from every corner they had hidden in. Applause, rolling like thunder, mixed with cheers, shouts, someone yelling yes, from the back of the room. Marcus stood there, catching his breath, vest torn in a long rip, a thin scratch on his face from a falling crystal shard. Hair disheveled, no longer the untouchable boss, just a man who had survived the most intense fight of his life. He looked at Lily. She stood beside him, still holding a broken piece of the vase, hair wild, emerald dress soaked with water. A white flower resting on her shoulder, breathing just as hard as he was. "My man," Marcus said, the corner of his mouth pulling up. Lily suddenly realized what she had just shouted in front of 200 people. Her face went red, redder than when the spotlight had been on her. She dropped the broken piece, completely flustered. I didn't mean." Marcus did not let her finish. He stepped in, one arm around her waist, the other lifting her chin. And he kissed her, right there, in the middle of the grand hall, among shattered crystal and scattered white flowers. with 200 people cheering all around them. The very first kiss between the underground empire boss and the housekeeper did not happen in a luxury suite or beneath a perfect sunset. It happened in the wreckage, and maybe that is exactly why it was more real than any kiss in any love story. Police sirens wailed outside. 4 officers rushed in, took in the scene in seconds, and moved straight to Vanessa on the floor. She came around, eyes swollen, hair spread out, a small cut from the broken vase, staring up with nothing in her eyes but pure, burning hatred. The handcuffs snapped shut for the second time in this story, but this time it was not Lily's wrists. "This is not over," Vanessa hissed as the officers brought her to her feet. "I will come back. I swear I will come back." The officer behind her leaned in and said exactly one thing. "You won't be coming back from where you're going." 3 days later, after the police finished their reports, after newspapers covered their front pages with the headline scandal of the century at the Calloway mansion, after Vanessa Whitmore had been moved from holding to federal prison with a list of charges as long as your arm, Marcus's attorney Howard began searching the last hidden corners Vanessa had left behind. Vanessa's private study, 3rd floor of the mansion, a small room she always kept locked, told Marcus it was her meditation space. He had never questioned it because he had trusted her completely. Now, as he forced the lock and stepped inside, he understood just how completely he had been fooled. Behind a false wood panel on the wall, a second safe, not Marcus's, Vanessa's own, fireproof, waterproof. Installed in secret, Howard brought a professional locksmith. 20 minutes, the door swung open, and inside was a whole miniature world of darkness. Files on bribing officials, receipts for transfers to Danny and others, ledgers with hidden expenses. Overseas bank accounts with numbers so large that Howard had to push his glasses up and read them twice. But all of that became small, all of it became nothing, when Marcus's hand found what was sitting at the very bottom of the safe. A sealed plastic pouch, the waterproof kind used to preserve important documents, taped shut carefully, as if whatever was inside was the most valuable thing in the world. Marcus opened it. Inside, an old birth certificate, yellowed with age, edges creased, but the printed words still perfectly clear. He read the first line. His face went pale. He read the second line. His hands began to shake. He reached the last line and had to sit down. His legs could not hold him. "Howard," Marcus said, his voice rough, low, barely steady. "Bring Lily up here, right now." Lily walked in with worry all over her face. Because when Marcus called in that voice, that deep, slow, unusually quiet voice, she knew something significant was about to happen. Marcus stood, pulled out a chair for her, said just 2 words, "Lily, sit down." She sat. Marcus placed the birth certificate in front of her, face up, pointed to the line under father's name, Preston Whitmore. Lily stared at the name, blinked, frowned, shook her head. "I don't understand. Who is Preston Whitmore?" He was Margaret Whitmore's oldest son. The man most people believed was Vanessa's father was actually her uncle. Preston was the older brother of Vanessa's real father. Marcus looked at Lily steadily, and according to this birth certificate, Preston is also your father, Lily. The room spun. Lily felt the floor tilt, the walls tilt, her entire world tilt. No, she shook her head, eyes wide. "That cannot be right. My grandmother told me my mother was just a housekeeper for a wealthy family. My mother passed when I was little. My grandmother never once talked about my father." "Your grandmother was telling the truth," Marcus said gently, sitting beside her. "Your mother worked in the Whitmore household, the wealthiest family in the area. And Preston, Margaret's firstborn, fell in love with your mother. a secret love, because back then the Whitmores would never accept their son marrying a housekeeper. Preston passed away 28 years ago, just months before you were born. Your mother left, had you, and never went back, never told anyone who you were. But if that is true, Lily whispered, her voice barely holding, then I am Margaret's granddaughter, Vanessa's cousin, and under the Whitmore inheritance laws, Marcus continued, you are the rightful heir. Because Preston was the firstborn, and the firstborn's child comes before everyone else, Lily's hand came up to cover her mouth. Tears spilled over. She did not even know whether it was shock, pain, or the fact that after 27 years in the dark, someone had finally turned on the light. And Vanessa knew all of this. Marcus continued, his voice going cold the moment her name came out. She knew you existed. She knew exactly who you were, and she deliberately sought you out. Hired you into this house as a housekeeper, not because she needed someone to clean, but because she wanted to keep an eye on you, to grind you down every single day, to make sure you, Margaret's granddaughter, Preston's child, spent your life on your knees scrubbing for her, without ever learning who you truly were. That was her secret satisfaction, the one she enjoyed every morning she watched you with a mop. A heavy silence settled over the room. Lily sat there, tears falling freely, 27 years of memory swirling, 27 years of keeping her head down, of taking it, of saying yes, ma'am, and now she understood. All this time she had been deceived, hidden, stripped of her name by the very person she had bowed her head to. The study door opened. Margaret Whitmore rolled in. Sharp old eyes sweeping the room, landing on the birth certificate, landing on Lily crying, and understanding everything without a single word of explanation. She signaled the nurse to stop directly in front of Lily. Her old hand, bony and trembling, lifted and touched Lily's cheek, stroking softly, like touching something precious she had thought was lost forever. These eyes, Margaret whispered, voice shaking. Preston's eyes, sad and gentle, exactly like my son. Lily looked at the woman in front of her, the grandmother she never knew she had, and every wall she had built over the years to protect herself came down all at once. She slid from the chair, dropped to her knees, wrapped both arms around Margaret's thin legs, and cried, like a child who had been without a mother for 27 years, and had finally found the way home. Margaret laid her hand on Lily's head, stroked her hair, and her own tears fell, dropping softly onto the dark strands of her granddaughter's hair. Forgive me, Margaret said, voice thick. That young woman told me you died at birth. She said your mother took you and both of you were lost in an accident. I believed it. I believed it because I could not bring myself to believe my own granddaughter was capable of that lie. 27 years, Lily. 27 years I lived without knowing you were out there. Lily could not speak. She only held on tighter, cried harder, and Margaret cried right along with her. 2 generations, separated by greed and cruelty, finding each other again in a small room full of legal papers and tears. At last Margaret lifted her head, wiped her eyes with the back of her hand, and when she spoke again, her voice did not tremble any more. It came out clear, commanding, the voice of a woman who had built something real long before Vanessa was ever born. From now on, no one will ever look down on you again. Lily, you are a Whitmore. You are my granddaughter. And I am going to spend every day I have left making up for the 27 years that were stolen from us. 1 week after the truth about her identity came to light, after the tears had dried and the time spent with Margaret had settled into something warm and everyday, Lily made a request Marcus did not want to hear. I want to visit Vanessa. Marcus was going through documents at his desk. He looked up sharply. Set his pen down. No, Lily, she is toxic. She is poison. Every second near her puts more of that in you. You never have to see her again. That door is closed. Lily stepped to the desk. Put her hand over his, gentle but steady. I know, but I need to see her one last time. Not for her, for me. I need to close this door for real. If I don't go, it will stay cracked open in my heart for the rest of my life. And I'll keep asking questions that only she can answer. Marcus studied her eyes. Looking for fear, for doubt, for any sign she was not ready. He found none of it. He only saw the calm of someone who had walked through fire and was no longer afraid of it. Federal Women's Prison sat on the edge of the city. Gray concrete, no windows, barbed wire everywhere. The visitation room was small, thick bulletproof glass dividing the two sides, a narrow gap at the bottom, just wide enough to carry sound. Not wide enough for warmth. Lily sat down on the plastic chair, hands in her lap, back straight, face composed. She waited. The door on the other side opened. Vanessa walked in, and Lily almost did not recognize her. No red dress, no gold gown, no sparkling necklace, just a wrinkled orange prison uniform hanging loose on a body that had clearly lost weight. No makeup, skin pale under fluorescent lights, dark circles under both eyes, hair that once shone beautifully, now dull and tied back carelessly with a rubber band. But her eyes had not changed at all, still burning, still full of hatred, still the eyes of someone caged who refused to admit defeat. Vanessa sat down, looked at Lily through the glass, and a cold, crooked smile formed on her lips. Well, look who showed up. Cinderella coming to visit the villain. Nice dress, new jewelry. Looking quite polished now. But everyone in this room knows underneath all that you are still just the girl who scrubs floors. Lily did not flinch, did not react. Her expression did not change at all. She looked at Vanessa with eyes that just weeks ago had been full of fear, but now held something completely different, deep, quiet calm, the calm of someone who had accepted everything and come out the other side. Why, Vanessa? Lily asked softly, no accusation, no anger, just a genuine desire to understand. We share blood, we share the Whitmore name. We could have been family, we should have been sisters. The smile fell from Vanessa's face, replaced by contempt so deep it was part of her bones. Sisters, you and me, Vanessa scoffed. You are a servant's child. I come from real standing. My father always resented yours. You know why? Because Preston was grandmother's golden child. Handsome, brilliant, loved, given everything, and my father spent his whole life in that shadow. When I found out you existed, when I discovered Preston had a daughter out in the world, I knew that if grandmother ever found you, I would lose everything. The inheritance, the money, the house. It would all go to the housekeeper's child carrying the favored son's blood. So you had me cleaning your floors, Lily said. Not a question, a statement, while you knew exactly who I was. And you should be grateful, Vanessa said, tilting her head. Voice coming through the gap in the glass, that I gave you a job instead of making you disappear from the very start. I thought about it plenty of times. But watching you on your knees every day, watching you bow your head and say yes, ma'am, without ever knowing you were bowing to your own cousin, that was sweeter than anything else. A long, heavy silence fell between the two women, separated by one pane of bulletproof glass and an entire world apart. Lily took a slow breath, then spoke, steady, not shaking, not sharp, calm as still water. Marcus loves me when I had nothing, Vanessa. When all I had was a worn-out uniform and rough hands. He loves me because I know how to love. And you, even if you had every dollar in the world, even if you owned every beautiful thing money can buy, you would still never fill the emptiness inside you. Vanessa flinched. Just for a moment, like Lily's words had touched something she kept buried deepest, but she covered it immediately with the armor she had always worn. "He will get tired of you," Vanessa said through her teeth. "You are ordinary, you are boring. Soon he will want someone with more class, and you will be back holding a broom." Lily looked at Vanessa one last time, long, steady, and she did not see a monster anymore. She saw a lonely, wounded woman who had chosen the wrong way to deal with her pain, who was now sitting in a prison visiting room, paying for every choice she had made. Lily stood up, slowly, gently, like rising from a long sleep. "God will forgive you, Vanessa," she said, soft, but it carried. "Because I already have. I am not carrying hatred out of this place. That part is yours. You can keep it right here within these four walls." Lily turned and walked away. Behind her, Vanessa broke like the last flame of a dying fire, fists slamming against the bulletproof glass. Pounding, 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 a scream tearing out of her and coming through that narrow gap. Come back here. I hate you, do you hear me? Come back." Lily did not look back. She walked through the hallway, through the steel doors, through the processing area, and pushed the final door open. Sunlight poured in, warm, bright, real, and this time Lily did not squint, did not raise her arm to shield her eyes. She walked straight into the light, like stepping into the life she had always deserved. Marcus was standing beside the car. Same posture as the day he had picked her up from the precinct, but this time no dark glasses, no tight, guarded expression. Just the quiet worry in the eyes of a man who was completely in love. "Are you okay?" Lily took a breath. The first real, deep breath of someone who had finally set down a weight they had been carrying for 27 years. Then she smiled, and that smile shone brighter than any diamond Vanessa had ever worn. "I'm okay now. I'm truly free." 1 year later. 12 months since that night. If you walked into the back garden of the Calloway mansion today, you would not recognize it. No more perfectly trimmed hedges that nobody was allowed to touch. No more pristine lawn that existed only to be looked at. No more the cold, empty elegance of a space built for show. Now there are toys scattered on the grass. A stroller parked by the porch, little pots of flowers Grace planted, blooming in bright colors, and above all of that, there is laughter. Children's laughter. 2 twin boys, Ryan Jr. and Preston, now 1 year old, have learned to walk. And they are toddling all over that garden on their little unsteady legs, falling down, getting right back up, and laughing like it is the greatest thing in the world. Chasing them around, Margaret Whitmore in her electric wheelchair, pressing the accelerator and zooming after them, shouting, "Slow down, come back to your grandmother," while laughing so hard she can barely catch her breath. Her old eyes lit up with a kind of joy she thought she had lost forever in these last 27 years. The light of family, for real, on a wicker chair under the maple tree. Lily's grandmother sits quietly, hands hardened by a lifetime of honest work resting in her lap, eyes following her great-grandchildren as they play. And she is crying, not from sadness, from pure happiness. She left her little house in the countryside to come live here with her granddaughter. And every morning she wakes up in a bright, spacious room. She still has to remind herself it is not a dream. Today is the wedding day, not in a sealed hotel ballroom with a guest list sorted by wealth. A garden wedding. Under the sun, under a wide blue sky, where the wind carries the smell of flowers and birdsong instead of an expensive orchestra. Guests sitting in rows of white wooden chairs along an aisle covered in petals, and it is the most beautiful picture you could imagine. Because on the left side are businessmen and politicians, the most powerful faces in New York, dressed in their finest. And on the right side are folks from Lily's hometown, Older ladies in the best outfits, they own men who put on a tie for the first time in years, looking a little stiff and very proud. And seated in the place of honor, the very front row, closest to everything, are Grace, Victor, Ray, and all the Calloway household staff. The people, Marcus simply said, these are family, they sit up front. Lily appears at the end of the aisle. And the whole garden holds its breath. She is wearing a white hand-made lace dress, not from a designer label. A gown sewn by hand over 3 months by an elderly seamstress from her grandmother's town, every single stitch carrying the love of someone who has known Lily since she was a little girl. Her hair falling naturally with fresh flowers tucked in, no crown, no diamonds. And she is so beautiful that even the society guests who have attended 100 fancy weddings are whispering among themselves in quiet admiration. Margaret rolls her wheelchair to Lily's side, takes her granddaughter's hand, and the two of them move down that flower-covered aisle together. Margaret, in her chair, gripping Lily's hand tightly, tears running down her wrinkled cheeks, while her smile is the brightest thing in the entire garden. She is walking her granddaughter into this ceremony, the granddaughter she believed she had lost for 27 years. Walking her toward the man who will love her for the rest of her life, and it is the greatest pride of Margaret Whitmore's 82 years. Marcus stands at the altar, sharp black 3-piece suit, looking put together and powerful, but his hands are trembling. For the very first time in his entire life, the Calloway boss is shaking, not from any threat, not from facing an enemy. From happiness from watching Lily walk toward him in the sunlight, from knowing that the woman who was once curled up in the trunk of his car, frightened, bruised, holding 2 newborn babies, is now walking toward him to become his wife. The pastor begins, and when it is time for vows, Marcus takes Lily's hands, looks into her eyes, and speaks in a low voice that trembles just a little. A tremble he does not try to hide. A year ago, I found you in the dark of my trunk. You were scared, worn out, running on nothing, but even then, you were glowing with something. Courage, love for 2 babies you did not owe a single thing to, and you loved them like they were your whole world. You showed me that real class is not in a last name. It is not in a bank account. It lives in the heart. I don't love you because you are a Whitmore. I love you because you have always been Lily, honest Lily, brave Lily, my Lily. Lily bites her lip, tears running, smile holding steady, and when it is her turn, her voice is small, but it carries through that garden's perfect silence. You were the only one who saw me when I was invisible. When the whole world looked right past me, you stepped closer. When I lost everything, you gave me a home, a family, and the dignity I thought was gone forever. I promise I will be your partner, the mother to our children, the 2 we already have, and the one on the way. Those last words land in the garden like a small explosion. Marcus blinks, then blinks again. His eyes go wide, wider, wider, until Lily breaks into the most radiant laugh. What? She is grinning, glowing, one hand in Marcus's and one resting gently on her belly. Yes, my love, we are going to have another baby. The garden goes absolutely wild. Cheers, shouts, applause crashing like thunder. Margaret throws both hands toward the sky, whispering thanks. Lily's grandmother covers her face and weeps on Grace's shoulder. The society guests rise and clap. The hometown folks whistle and holler. And the twin boys, who have absolutely no idea what is happening, run in happy circles up and down the petal-covered aisle, laughing with everything they have. Marcus does not wait for the pastor to say, "You may kiss the bride." He steps forward, wraps both arms around Lily's waist, lifts her up, spins her once, then again, her white dress flying in the sunlight, and kisses her right in the middle of all that laughter and joy and happy tears beneath that wide blue sky. When he sets her down, the two little boys come running in and wrap around their parents' legs, and Marcus opens his arms wide, pulling Lily and both boys close. 4 people, 1 family, perfect. The celebration runs until morning, live music, a band that plays everything from jazz to country. Champagne flowing, cold lemonade on the side, fancy steaks at one end, and the cornbread Lily's grandmother baked from a family recipe at the other, and honestly, more people went back for seconds of that cornbread than the steak. Wealthy guests and everyday folks sitting at the same tables, clinking glasses, dancing, swapping stories, laughing together. Nobody asks what you are wearing. Nobody asks what neighborhood you live in or what kind of car you drive. There is only music, laughter, and the warmth of people who chose love over hatred, and that, my friends, is the story of Marcus Calloway and Lily Reeves. A story that started in the darkness of a car trunk and ended in a garden full of sunshine and flowers in full bloom. A story that shows us that monsters can wear silk, wear diamonds, wear the most perfect smile in the world, and that the most courageous people sometimes wear a cleaning uniform, carry calloused hands, and do not have a single dollar to their name. That real love does not check your bank account before it knocks on your heart. That courage is not about how powerful you are or how much you control. It is about whether you stand up for what is right when the whole world tells you to sit down and stay quiet. And that sometimes justice takes its time, but it always arrives.